All right. Welcome, everyone, to Wisdom and Wanderlust. My name is Michael Bennett, co-founder of ExploreX. And on behalf of our entire team around the world, my colleagues Robin and Amanda, who are joining us today, we're really excited to have you with us today. We've got some great guests, friends, colleagues, and partners that are going to join us in just a few minutes. Marit Vidnes and Thea Langland talking about Norway, the concept of friluftsliv, which is, well, they'll explain it way better than I will, and they'll probably pronounce it way better than I will. But it's the idea that this long-standing way of life and really a philosophy in Norway, a philosophy of life that roughly translates to a love for and appreciation of the great outdoors. So we're excited to learn more and to meet Thea and Marit in just a few minutes. Before we jump into that conversation, just a few notes as always. If you are new to the ExploreX community, we invite you to learn more about who we are, what we do, what makes us so special on our website, which is explore-x.com. We also recently launched a new membership program that we're very excited about. The program is filled with lots of exciting benefits for members to take advantage of. Even now, while travel is not really an option for most of us, there's still some great benefits that you can get from the membership program. So you can check that out on our website, explore-x.com/join. We also are starting a new monthly member meetup, which is a meeting similar to this on Zoom that we're hosting for members to get together, just connect, share resources, share best practices, ask questions of our team. So that'll start next Tuesday is our very first one. So another benefit of being a member is having access to these monthly member meetups, which we're really excited about. And really finally, really getting a chance to connect with our travelers, because it's been a while and most people are not planning travel. And so, I think our team is as excited as many of our members are to be able to get together and just have conversations and begin to dream a little bit with our friends, colleagues, and travelers. We also recently launched a destinations page on our website, which highlights some of the destinations that we're most excited about, including Norway. So you can visit that at /destinations. If you have any questions, you can reach out to our team. Best way to reach us is email at hello@explore-x.com. And be sure to follow us on social media at GoExploreX. So that's it for me. Amanda, do you want to do some housekeeping?
Yeah, just a few things before we get started. We're going to keep this as close to an hour as possible. As Michael said, we are recording and it will be available afterward. We'll go ahead and email everyone a link. And if you have any general questions as we go along, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. We'll answer questions as we go through today's conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. So one of the fun things that we've been doing over the past month or so is our question of the week, where our team gets a chance to sort of answer some questions that we may, in fact, ask our guests later on in the webinar. So this week's question of the week, Amanda and Robin, is: what are you doing these days in the time of COVID to stay connected to the outdoors?
I will start.
Yeah.
Hey guys. So I would say, so I live in Bozeman, Montana, and out here it's really easy for me to stay connected to the outdoors during this time, because the trails and the mountains around here are not very heavily populated. So we just went backpacking last weekend and we saw 2 other hikers out there. And so there's places you can go around here that there's very few other people. So we're very lucky in that way here. So hiking, backpacking, mountain biking, whitewater rafting, all of the things.
I'm jealous that there's nobody on the hiking trails out there, because that is not the case here in Seattle, is it, Amanda?
No, it's not at all. And we get up really early in the morning on the weekends in order to get out before everyone else floods the trails, because now that they're open again, before they were open for us, we would take walks through the neighborhood and take photos of flowers and people's gardens and things like that. But now that the trails are open, it's great to get back into nature, but definitely trails are busy. So we're getting farther from Seattle in order to find trails that are a little less visited, and getting up early in order to explore a little bit and get in nature without too many other visitors, which is great that everybody's getting out, but it does make it a little trickier to always have your masks on and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know we've had a chance to do some socially distance walking and hanging out. And that's been fun, just to, go to a local lake and just sort of do a 3-mile loop and walk and chat and get some exercise and enjoy being outside. So yeah, cool. For me, I think what's been really nice and really a revelation is that there's a beautiful park not far from my house. I mean, it's certainly walking distance, although I'm usually too lazy because I just drive there, which is ironic. But I take Fred out pretty much every morning, and oftentimes in the evenings as well. And it's a nice, I'd say 3 to 4 miles, depending on exactly what trails I take. But it's through the woods, and it's just really secluded. And there's a loop around that. It's a peninsula. It's an area called Seward Park, and people do the loop on the outside of which is paved, and it's quite busy. But the trails on the interior are still pretty empty, which has been great. So we've just been spending lots and lots of time, up there and exploring. And there's a beach at the end of it, so we'll just sit at the beach and I'll have a little meditation while Fred's playing in the water, and it's really nice. And frankly, it's been one of the more exciting things that's happened is the coyote population there has really become alive. And they're much more vocal and much more present than, or you're aware of their presence maybe much more than you had been in the past. And, a few weeks ago, Lauren and I were hiking through there, and it was a Saturday or a Sunday morning, and they just, it sounded like 50 of them just started howling, and it was just really cool to just sit there and listen to it and experience sort of them being in their natural environment. And of course we have our dogs. We walked around to make sure we didn't get too close, but then even the other day, like I was walking with Fred, it was yesterday or 2 days ago, and it was sort of this very like blissful scene where I saw a coyote following us on the trail, and he was, not bothering us. But then we walked back towards past on the way back out, and I found him. There was a tree that had fallen down, and moss had grown on it. And there was an opening in the trees in the forest above it. And the sun was shining right on this spot on the tree where the moss had grown. And the coyote was just curled up in a little ball there, just hanging out. And we walked by, and I sort of caught him out of the corner of my eye. He's probably 20 feet away, and just like looked at him, and he picked his head up and sort of turned his head, and I said hello to him, and he put his head back down, and we just kept walking. And it was just a really cool experience. So it's been fun to be able to do more of that now, versus like what I would have done in the past, which is maybe doing more indoor rock climbing or going to the gym for strength training or whatever else it might be. And I'm really, even now where those things are starting to be available again, like I've just decided I don't want to do it because I've enjoyed being outside so much. So
it's cool that you get that sort of wild experience in the middle of a big city like
middle of
Seattle.
a city. Yeah. And then of course, depending on the day, sometimes it's a blessing, and sometimes it's a curse. I also get no cell phone coverage out there. So if I'm trying to talk to you guys, I'll be cursing under my breath when the call disconnects, but sometimes it's really nice to not be connected. So anyway, awesome guys. Thanks for sharing, Robin and Amanda. All right, now enough out of us. We're gonna turn it over to Taya and Marit. We are, as I said, very, very excited to have them join us today. We've had a chance to work with them over the past couple of years and developing some really great itineraries to Norway. And we can't wait to work with them again as soon as possible once, COVID allows. But a quick, by way of a quick introduction, Marit has become a good friend of ours. She has a huge passion for Norway and the outdoors. Has traveled all over and really loves time exploring her own country as much as she loves exploring other parts of the world. Marit's been living the dream of working in the travel space for 10 years now, which is hard to believe. And when she's not in the office, which I feel like is probably increasingly rare these days, she's probably out doing hiking and kayaking and mountain biking and cross-country skiing and climbing and all of those things, depending on what time of year it is. And her favorite place in Norway is on the West Coast, with all the lush green mountains and the blue fjords. So Marit's going to give us some more information about all of that and to introduce herself in a minute. But Taya Langeland also is one of our good friends and partners, loves being outdoors every chance she gets. whether it's sleeping in her tent or just relaxing in a hammock. She's relatively new to the travel space, but has a lot of years of experience in sports and in the outdoor industries. And so it's been really, really fun to get to connect with her and see her passion and for the work that she's doing. And her favorite spot in Norway is one of the highest mountains called Jotunheimen. I probably totally screwed that up, but I tried. And it's a spot that Thea visits every year. So Thea, Marit, welcome. And we're really happy to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. So as we get started, like just tell us a little bit about yourselves. I know I gave a really brief intro, but Marit, Thea, just tell us who you are, where you're from, what you're up to. Just give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, so I'll start out. I'm Marit. Thank you for the introduction. And the compliment on how long I've been in the industry. So yeah, I grew up right outside Oslo, but Oslo is not a big city. Like even though it's our capital city, it's not like Seattle. It's smaller. But it does have the benefit of being a big city and also having a lot of nature around it. And I just, after like when I was 17, 18, I just fell in love with nature and I have this big passion for being outdoors. That's like, that's how I feel sane. And I also, the reason I went into this industry is to give that passion on to others. And it's really something when you see someone fall in love with nature. And in Norway, it's quite easy to fall in love with nature.
Yeah, I haven't. Oh, hey,
sorry.
Thea. No, go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Thea, and I was also part of the XplorerX team in Norway. I grew up on the other side of Oslo than Marit actually, so I'm also used to be around lush areas close to the city, but I'm actually not that has not that much experience in the travel industry. I've been working in the sport industry and selling gear, but now I was more interested in actually selling the experience and not just the gear. So I want to follow the customers and the guests from the gear place to also see them experience actually outdoor life in Norway. So I'm very lucky to be a part of the travel industry, even though COVID has not done us that well, but hopefully in a while we'll be back on track.
I'm confident that we will be. So, Thea, where did your sense of wanderlust come from? Was it something you were sort of born with, or is it something that sort of grew over time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I got it early in childhood because my family has actually 3 cabins in the mountains, and I stayed there a lot as a child. Playing outside, hiking, cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, biking, everything. So I think I got it from early age. And then it just started to be a bigger part of my life during elementary school. Not that fond of it during middle school, but in high school and when I was studying, it was kind of a part of my identity, actually, yeah.
I love it. And Marit, what about you? Where did your sense of wanderlust come from?
Very similar story to Thea. My family took me outside when I was a kid, and I think that's very normal in the Norwegian culture.
Yeah.
And the same feeling like growing up middle school, and it was boring and I didn't want to go outside. But then I finished high school my last year in my favorite part of Norway, in the western part. And I had 2 mountains just right behind the school. And me and some friends would just like hike up there as fast as we could and just run down. It was so exhilarating and so much fun. And that's when I just, okay, this is where I need to be as much as possible out in nature.
And then you decided that you wanted to share those experiences with other folks,
Exactly.
Not only Norwegians, but other folks from around the world. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, after high school or after studying a bit, I started working at Norway's biggest newspaper, which was great. It was a great job, and and I could have had a really good career there. But after 3 years, I was like, okay, I really need to follow my dream, and that's when I got into the travel industry.
And you've traveled quite a bit outside of Norway as well, right?
Yeah, I have. I've been working with our outbound business as well earlier. Now I only work with Norway, which I'm very happy about. But I also love to travel, of course, and I think it's important also to kind of be able to see Norway in a context with the rest of the world. And my last trip was 4 weeks or 3 weeks trip to Nepal last fall, which was amazing.
Wow. Wow. So what have you learned about yourself or life or whatever through your travels?
I think for me, yeah, it's a very big question. For me, nature is where I feel at home and where I feel sane, and I feel grounded somehow. I like to be in big cities and have those experiences as well, but after a few days, I'm like, okay, where can I get to nature? So yeah, it's just it really kind of, yeah, I think it keeps me feel sane and grounded is my answer.
Taya, what about you? Have you had a chance to travel much outside of Norway, or what's your travel experience been?
I haven't traveled that much around, but I've been actually staying in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro for 6 months, and
Oh, wow.
also in Edmonton in Canada for 6 months. So
it's a classic route. Most people do that. They go to Rio and then they go to Edmonton. It's pretty normal.
Kind of the same. Or else it's just family trips in the summer for like warmer places in Europe.
Sure.
But not like for exploring the nature and hiking. This is just for relaxing and tanning and just go for a swim.
Yeah. And what have you, when you were in Rio, what was that experience like for you? And what did you learn from that?
It was a really cool experience. Like, we lived there for 6 months, so we get to know the locals and their culture, and also see that it's different situations in the world, especially when I just can come back to Norway and live my normal life and see people living with under other conditions. So I learned to be more appreciative from where I'm from, but also to see the hospitality and the warm welcome from people I don't know from before. So that was a very cool experience.
Yeah, it's always interesting to, we learn a lot about ourselves and about others when we travel, but I think we also learn a lot about our own culture, and begin to appreciate that and maybe understand it at a deeper level than we did before we left, right? Which is sort of an ironic thing. So, Mara, let me swing it back to you. Let me ask you this. So, after your travels and having explored Norway and explored the world, like, what is it that makes Norway so special, so unique, and so different compared to other places around the world?
Well, the main reason why I love Norway so much is because we have such variety in seasons. Like, we have 4 very distinct seasons that gives you a lot of different stuff you can do. Like the winter, you can go skiing. In the spring, it's if you go to the mountains, you have snow, and if you go down to the fjords, it's summer. So you can actually have both in one day. And in the summer, it's really warm, and it's in good days, it can be almost like being in Spain, and then having this amazing nature around you. And also the fall is so beautiful with all the colors and crisp air. And I mean, you have a lot of that in Seattle as well, so it's quite similar. But I think we have a longer winter, and the winter is actually like goes all the way down to the ocean, so you can actually go skiing from the ocean. And so I think that combination is really unique. And of course we have a lot of nature, wild nature, which I think is one of our best things. Definitely, it's something we need to take care of.
For sure. And I haven't had a chance to spend all that much time in Norway, and of course we all know about, and we're going to hear more about, the outdoors and nature and all that, which is certainly the calling card. But I was always struck by the culture, and sort of the history and the traditions and the warmth of the people there. So, yeah, it's very unique. It's very different.
Yeah, I think yeah, and as many European countries, we have a very long history, and we are very. Thea and me were just talking about it today, preparing a bit for this talk, like how proud we are of our country and our history, and I think that's something that's very rooted and very Norwegian, and probably some of what you experienced being here.
Absolutely, it absolutely was. But we're going to jump into a conversation about friluftsliv in just a second. But before we do that, just to sort of set a foundation for people that maybe are not super familiar with Norway or the different regions and things like that, can you just sort of give us a brief introduction to Norway?
Yes. So Norway is a very long country. It takes like 2 days to travel. It's a very small, very narrow, but very long country. So we have 2 days to travel with a car from one side to the other. So that means we have everything from warmer climate to very cold climate, and Svalbard or Spitsbergen is also part of Norway. So if you go there, it's really special with polar bears and everything. So I would say, yeah, so it's so varied, and that's maybe that, and the fact that we have very different and distinct seasons are maybe some of our best qualities when traveling. And also, of course, the northern lights, the midnight sun up north in the summer, are very unique experiences that you should experience.
Absolutely. So everyone knows Oslo, and then, the fjords out to the west. What are some of the other highlights? So, some of the sort of classic destinations that people would go to if they were, coming to Norway for the first time.
Yeah, Lofoten would be definitely one of them. It's one of our favorites for sure. It has very rugged mountains that go steep right into the ocean, and it's very scenic. So I would say if you have 2 weeks in Norway or maybe 3, you should go to the western part and to Lofoten. And also you have the midnight sun and the northern lights there. But in Tromsø, a bit further north, you have more of the northern lights. But I would say Oslo, the western part with the fjords, Lofoten and Tromsø are the kind of go-to places. But this summer, both Thea and me went to an island group, or it's a place just south of Lofoten that has 12,000 islands. It's called the Helgeland Coast. It's not as extreme as Lofoten, but it's so beautiful. And every small island has this little mountain you can climb, and it's just stunning. So we think that will be the new Lofoten very soon.
Well, quick plug. I know we've been working behind the scenes to plan one of our small group journeys up to Lofoten and other areas of the north, and so we continue to work on that, and that'll be in 2022. So for those of you that are watching and listening, stay tuned for that coming soon as well. You mentioned, sort of one of the things about Norway that you appreciate the most is that there are 4 seasons. Do you have, Thea, Mara, do you guys have a favorite time of year yourselves? And what's your favorite time of year? What would you recommend for people that are traveling to Norway maybe for the first time? When would be the best time to visit?
It's an impossible question because all season has so much to offer. But for me, my favorite season is actually very hard to tell because I love to cross-country ski. And also, so my winter and ski touring, of course. So winter is amazing, but maybe in the spring where you can do both. Like this spring, I would go skiing one day and then go biking the next, and maybe kayak the day after. So, but one of the seasons, I think, traveling to Norway maybe for the first time, June or September are really great because it's not that crowded. In September, you can actually both have very nice, clear days, not too cold, and you have the northern lights. And in June, you have up north, you have the midnight sun where it's light all day, and you just don't have to look at the watch. You can just follow your body and do whatever you want and go hiking at midnight.
The midnight sun runs from what, roughly mid-June through mid-July, or where?
Actually, it starts in April, late April, and goes
Oh, wow.
until July.
Okay. I did
Yeah.
not realize it was that long, obviously. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so it's really cool. It depends on where you are in the country. So the
Yeah.
further north you go, the more time you have, of course.
And then the Northern Lights are what, September through April as well, or is it shorter than that?
September to February, late
February,
February,
okay.
early March. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, and Taya, what about you? What's your favorite time of year, and what do you recommend for travelers?
Yeah, like Maya said, that's a kind of an impossible question to answer, but I will probably recommend to come in the summer as well. I'm big fan of the midnight sun. Like, you get all this energy in your body, and you hardly need to sleep. Like, you forget to sleep actually, because the sun is up all night, and you can just sit by the beach or the sea making dinner and just look at the ocean after a full day of hiking. And you just forget the time, and then you look at your watch and it's 11 p.m. and or maybe just 1 in the middle of the night. So to experience the midnight sun, it's just awesome.
That's awesome.
Do you guys have any tricks for like trying to sleep during that time? Like, do you have blackout curtains,
Taya
or
says you don't sleep. You just don't.
you just don't sleep?
Just don't do it.
First, you feel like your body you don't need that much sleep up there. Even though I'm a 8 to 10 hour sleeper at night, up there I sleep like 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours. So you get all this energy, but first of all, bring a sleeping mask. Like, you really need a sleeping mask. And some of the hotels or the places to stay, they do have curtains that are full lockout, like
Blackout
no light.
curtains, yeah.
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 But it is really cool, like walking through a little municipality or a little place. You'll see people like painting their house at 2 a.m. in the night and hanging out and just doing small things. Like, yeah.
I mean, do the shops and restaurants close at any particular time, or do they sort of just stay open all the time?
No, yeah, they do, but they close. But people are just hanging around doing stuff. And actually, true story. This summer, I went to a bar, and we went home at 2 o'clock to our tent, and then we just met this lady. She'd picked 10 kilos of blueberries in the middle of the night, just in the woods, hanging out.
10 kilos of blueberries.
Yes.
For those of us that don't do
stripped us.
kilos, that's like 22 pounds of blueberries. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
All right. So this is sort of a nice transition, if you will, in terms of talking about all of the things that are available in the midnight sun, to this concept of free loop sleeves. So can you guys just sort of, in your own words, describe what that means and help us understand that a little bit better?
Yeah, we can try to explain it. So, like free sleeve, you can hardly just translate it directly. But if you do, it's called like free, and air and life. It's all put together, and it's kind of beyond just getting out for a walk or just a jog. It's like rooted in mindfulness. Feeling connected to a larger whole, and also kind of connecting to the nature. And it's about like more like a philosophy where you actually appreciate the nature, and you don't want to destroy it or disturbing while you're out there. You just want to be a part of the nature and just be actually. So it's just something that you're like experiments from. For me, could be just a walk to a lake and just look at the water, just being quiet and like think and clear my head. And for other people, it's just climbing high mountains and get the adrenaline and the kick there. But it's kind of a state of mind where you just clear your head. And the funny thing is that Norway is actually one of the happiest places. Like the people in Norway are some of the happiest people in the world. And I may think that could be because of friluftsliv and the fact that it's something we do mentally and do something better for our mental health.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, it really resonates and connects with the stuff that the philosophy and the ethos that we talk a lot about with ExploreX, right? I mean, which is sort of beyond just traveling, but it's thinking about and being more mindful, being more intentional, being more curious, engaging at a different level, and you know, and taking time to think and reflect and use the experiences, whether you're wandering through a beautiful forest or climbing a mountain or exploring, you know, some city and the culture in the city. You know, I think the thing that we try to do, and I think that I appreciate most about what you're saying, is just that it's the element of mindfulness that we bring to the experience, and that if we can take a few minutes to think about, you know, what, you know, just, well, first of all, take a few minutes to breathe, right? And just enjoy where you are and all that. But then also take some time to think about, like, what am I experiencing here and what am I learning? And whether you're going to do a meditation sitting in the woods or, you know, diving into a really great, powerful conversation with somebody about the culture, you know, it's the mindfulness part of it is so critical. And it's something that I think a lot of travelers leave out, right? In service of posting a really cool photo on Instagram or, you know, something like that, right? And so I appreciate what you're saying very much about that, and I love the idea. What is there you mentioned, you know, sort of in our pre-webinar conversation, the idea that there's a difference between, you know, sort of the outdoor life in general and friluftsliv. So can you explain what those differences might be?
Yeah, so it could be like kind of what I said earlier, with the part that being just outdoor and outdoor life. Sometimes it's just the fact that you're jogging out in the woods or just posting a picture on Instagram. So outdoor life is also about the state of mind and the mindfulness part, but the fact that friluftsliv is such a big part of our tradition and something we identify ourselves with kind of makes it a bit more special. And also the traditions and how our almost our land is built up around it, with both the politics and also with how a city and the mountains are built up, makes it more like something we go together, like national identity.
So you mentioned heritage, tradition, culture. So where did this idea come from originally, and how did it sort of take hold as one of the biggest philosophies of the Norwegian people?
That's a very good question. So Norway is built up of people living very scattered around the world, around the country, with a lot of distance to the next farm. So everyone kind of lived far away from each other. And let's say 1,000 years ago, people would use the nature mostly to harvest from it, and maybe they would maybe see a mountain as an obstacle to get to somewhere where they could maybe trade their goods and stuff like that. But when things started to change, was actually a lot of things happening at the same time. So early on in the middle of the 18th century, 1800s, 1850, people from Britain would come to Norway and start climbing our mountains. And people were like, what's happening? Why are they doing this? You should stay down here. It's more safe. And a lot of like the old beliefs that the mountains was maybe dangerous and stuff like that. But then they saw people like climbing mountains, and they said, okay, maybe we should do this too. We can't let people just climb our mountains and be the first one to go there, and you're sitting down here. So that was one thing. And then there was we have the Norwegian Trekking Association. It was founded just 18 years later, and Thea can tell you more about that later if you want to. But it's also a big part of what friluftsliv is in Norway today. And then they started building cabins and making a low entry point for people to start going out to nature and not being too expensive. And then we had the great expeditioners Amundsen and Nansen. Amundsen was the first man on the South Pole. Nansen was the first man to cross Greenland, and he also had several attempts to reach the North Pole. And they were the big heroes of Norway, of course. And also we were in union with Sweden until right after they did this big expeditions. So when the government and when the people trying to build the country and build the identity of the country after the union ended with Sweden, they kind of build it all up around nature, around people being tough, wanting to go outside, wanting to climb mountains, like really being in touch with nature. And that's also when the word friluftsliv really like kind of became a part of our culture and our identity.
No, that's a really that's really interesting. I'm shocked that it was the Brits that inspired mountain climbing. That's not something I would have expected.
No, I know, but yeah, the first climbs in Norway were done by Brits.
Wow.
We're a bit embarrassed about that, but we've done our. But that's why we had to go across the South Pole and.
Right.
Yeah.
Making up for lost time, yeah, no doubt.
Exactly.
Thea, Marit mentioned the Norwegian Tracking Association. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and why that's so prominent?
Yeah, so that's something special about Norway is the Norwegian Tracking Association. So it actually was founded in 1886 by this smart man that's called Thomas Hefti, and he got the idea actually from the Alps. So he saw that they had something like similar with the mountain huts and cabins up in the mountains. And he was thinking that we can do something similar in Norway. So we can do all these areas in the mountains and in the woods more accessible and also easier to use for a low price. So he started to build actually huts and cabins and mark trails between them. And if you go in Norway on this DNT or Tracking Association marked trails, you will see a red T that is painted on rocks or a T on a tree or like on the ground or something. So you can always follow those T's or red marks on the trails just to know where you're going. So we started to build all these huts and cabins up in the mountains, and it started as an association. So you actually need to be a member of this association. It costs around $85 a year. And if you do become a member, you can use all the huts and use the trails, of course, and stay there for a lower price. But if you're not a member, you can always come there and stay there, but the price is a bit higher, not much, but a bit higher. And we actually have 3 different kind of huts. You have no service and self-service and also staffed lodges. And it's probably the self-service and the non-service thing that makes this even more special. Because I can go to a self-service hut in the mountains and they will have this food storage there and there will be nobody working there. So I will go there and find a bed and put on a bed sheet or a sleeping bag and go in the kitchen and make some food out of the storage there. And I will of course clean up after me and sleep there. And when I'm leaving, I'm going to self-report what I've been doing. Like how many nights I've been there, what I've been eating. Like if I took a pancake mix, I will like write that down. And I will put this in a mailbox or something, and I will get an invoice in my email or my mail probably 2 weeks after or 2 months after it. So that's kind of cool because this whole system is built around trust and volunteer work.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the
So
no
I can-
service, the no service is you have to bring your own food, right?
Yeah, the no service is that you have to bring your own food, but I can go and lock myself in with this key. So all the locks are almost the same. And then just go in there and lock yourself in, and afterwards you lock yourself out if there's no one there.
Oh.
So that's kind of amazing, and something that makes this concept kind of a unique thing.
Are you both members of this? Like both have access? Marit, you
Yes.
too? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. It's I think it's really great and something everyone that loves the outdoors should be a member of. And they maintain a lot of the trails in the mountains. And funny thing, because they're marked with a T. And when Thea was a kid, her parents would tell her, "That's your rocks. You have to go get them." And that's how she how she would be running around in the mountain.
Oh, that's awesome. And did you were saying before that there are 500,000, roughly 500,000 cabins? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
but that's kind of another type of cabins. Like for DNT, it's actually 550 cabins in Norway that you can use. Some of them are staffed and some non-service and none.
Okay.
So you have all those staffed lodges up in the mountains as well, and then you have all the other huts,
Right.
like cabins that are personal huts.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So that, but kind of the same culture thing. You're going up to the mountains to relax and to just clear your head and have fun at the cottage and going out hiking or cross country skiing in the winter. So it's kind of a second home up in the mountains.
Hey, you're
Oh, sorry, I have another question.
yeah, go ahead.
Can non-Norwegian citizens pay that membership and have access to like the self-service cabin?
Yeah. So even though you're not a member, you're always welcome to the huts. Like they have this policy, first of all, that everybody should have a roof over their head. So if you're coming there and when it's not Corona times, because now it's a little bit different. But if you're coming there maybe 11 in the evening and all the beds are full and there's 20 people in this small cottage, you have guaranteed to get a sleeping place. So they cannot say to people that you're not welcome here. And if you're not a member, you can just go up in maybe the staff lodges. So if you want to have something to make the dinner for you, you probably can get a 3-course dinner and a warm bed and nice shower, and then you just pay, I think it's 10 or 15% more than if you're not a member. So it's not just for members, but if you are a member, you get a little bit of discount and also supporting their work.
Yeah, very cool.
very cool. So is this sort of the concept of Hutator, like that you're just sort of going from hut to hut to hut? Is that sort of this idea?
Yeah. So that's a typical also Norwegian tradition, going from hut to hut. Because if you're going from hut to hut, you don't need to bring all the gears. So you can have a light backpack, and that's a typical thing to do in the Eastern break, like in the Easter vacation, going cross country skiing from hut to hut, and just spending your vacation out there, or in the summer walking from hut to hut with a light backpack and almost get to nice hotel kind of huts in the mountains, or making your own pancakes on a self-service cabin.
I get the sense that you love pancakes. You've mentioned it a few times.
Yeah, that's a typical thing I eat on the self-service huts because it's so easy. I can never make it myself at home.
Guys, we're running short on time. There's like I want to chat for like another hour, but I have 3 more questions for you. We'll try to get through them somewhat quickly, and then Robin's going to do some rapid fire Q&A. So one thing that we've talked about, I'm really intrigued by, I think I'd love our listeners and audience to hear more about, is Alemansretten, which I'm probably again mispronouncing, but it's the right to roam. So what does that mean, and where did that come from, and what does that look like in day-to-day life in Norway?
Yeah, it's very much connected with Friluftsliv and with our culture. And it's called the right to roam, or Allemannsretten, which you pronounced very well, Michael. Well done.
Thank you.
But it means it's actually, I would say, very much in line with the DNT or the Trekking Association. It's kind of the same philosophy. that everyone is welcome everywhere, and you should be able to walk around wherever you want. So you can walk in every forest area, every like open land area you want to, and you can even set up camp as long as it's 100 meters from a house. And it of course it can't be cultivated land, like it has to be nature. And you can stay there for 2 days, and so you could move around Norway and stay 2 days in every spot if you want to. And the idea is that for 2 days you won't leave any tracks, like it won't when you move your things, it won't be, there won't be any marks after you. And of course, with this unique thing that actually they are planning to add into the constitution of Norway next year, so it is very very like a big part of our culture and a big part of what makes Norway Norway, I would say.
And there have been no issues with people sleeping 100 yards from someone else's home?
Well, there are very few issues with that. Like a few people going around, it's no problem. Where there has been some problems, especially this last few years. Of course, this system works because we're not that many people on a lot of space. So so that's why it works out. But
Yep.
lately, there are some places like some beaches up north that are very popular for surfing, and people would go camp, and maybe there are no sanitary place to go for do what you need to do, and that has created some issues. So there are a few places where they're changing this a little bit now, but mainly it goes all over Norway. And but also, of course, it comes with a lot of responsibility, and that's kind of maybe what's happening now when a lot of new people are out there. And a lot of new people are using the nature, and they don't have the same kind of mentality. And because of course it's a lot about leaving no trace and respect for what you're for the very big gifts we've been given, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna move on to get through a couple other questions, but I just want to remind folks that if you have questions, if you want to learn more about any of these ideas that we are going to get through pretty quickly, you can always email us hello@explorer-x.com or norway@explorer-x.com, and then we'll make sure that your answers or your questions are answered and get you connected to the right people so you get the information that you're looking for. Okay, so we talked about or you mentioned the Norwegian art of the packed lunch. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's kind of like a weird thing I've learned. Like when I was in Canada and was bringing my packed lunch, people were looking a little bit like I'm a weird person, bringing this small package of bread to school. But that's kind of also something about our culture and tradition. So we have those bread slices packed together in this baking parchment, and there's kind of like open sandwiches. So we just have the bread and the toppings, and I make it at home before I'm going out hiking or just going to work. It actually looks like this. Like not that luxury,
Yeah.
just a small package. And often people or your parents can write a message on it, like have a nice day or something. That's so cozy when we're back at school. My mom used to write small notes on it. But it was the highlights during the day or if I'm going hiking, because it's easy to bring, it's easy to eat, and it also is easy after you eat it to just pack it up in your backpack and just bring all the garbage with you. So it's a easy way of eating lunch. And together with that, you should probably also have this thing. It's called kviklunsj. It's the best chocolate in the world.
In the world?
Almost. So it looks like Kit Kat, but it's a typical Norwegian hiking thing. Like if you have your matpakke and a kviklunsj, you're ready, set, go. Just go out hiking.
You're sort of describing my perfect lunch. I mean, I have chocolate with like every meal. So like I'm envisioning like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with like chocolate afterwards. You ever put the chocolate on? Never mind.
Can do that, but I haven't tried that so many times myself. But directly translated is actually a fast lunch. So this marketing thing for kviklunsj was for hikers, just to get a quick nutrition in their body while hiking. And sometimes they have like those maps inside of it saying just some tips and tricks or giving you some advice for hiking. So those two together is a cool thing. So if you're coming to Norway, you should probably be prepared of making your own matpakke when you're staying at actually hotels and lodges and stuff, because that's what we do for lunch. We eat a lot of bread and love it. So if you're at a hotel and you're going to prepare your own lunch, you're going to take probably 4 or 5 slices of bread with maybe goat cheese. You have to taste that and see how that goes, and also white cheese or ham and stuff, and pack it together in this cute little thing.
It is definitely both art and science. I love it. I love it. All right, we're running low on time, so I've got 2 more quick questions for you. One of them is a bigger question, so I understand the gravity of it. But speaking of friluftsliv and all of the idea of being outside, of being in nature, and all of that, how has COVID impacted that, either positively or negatively?
Yeah, so I think I've been touching on it a little bit, and it's really been booming with friluftsliv here in Norway after COVID hit. We were lucky enough to not be like, they didn't close down any national parks or anything, but we were not able to leave our county. So we kind of had to stay put, not go to our cabins, which was a big deal for a lot of Norwegians. Especially over Easter, where it's kind of a rule to go to your cabin in the mountain or do like Thea said, go hut to hut. But a lot of new people have been going outside, and it's great. I mean, it's really nice that more people are experiencing the outdoors, and the sports shops have been robbed of hammocks and tents and sleeping bags and gas for their stoves. So it's really been great, but also of course it comes with some challenges of just taking care of nature and everything growing so fast, and so like just like that there's so much more people outside. So that's been a topic, of course, but basically it's great that people are getting out, and it's very good for their both mental and physical health.
Yeah, awesome. What is the status of travel restrictions in Norway at this time, and when do you have a guess as to when folks from the States, for example, or North America might be able to travel there, or is it still very much up in the air?
Our dream is that next summer will be open and good to go, and that's what we were hoping for, but it's very hard to tell. Right now, we've been open, like it's been possible to travel a little bit around in the countries in Europe, but it's based on how many infected people are in the country. So that goes up and down. So Germany has been open, now it's closing. Denmark has been open more or less all the time, but closing a little bit. So it's very hard to tell. So I guess that might be the kind of the restriction with the other countries as well, depending on how many people are infected in the country.
Sure. Great.
So we're hoping as soon as possible, of course. But yeah. So if you get to Norway, there's not that many restrictions here right now. If you're coming from a country that's not like okay to come from, you have to stay in quarantine for 10 days. Okay. But other than that, it's kind of, you don't have to wear a mask. You're asked to, it's all I guess a part of it. Kind of goes back to the Norwegian culture is very much based on everyone volunteering, and that's also kind of what the politicians have been playing on now as well, like everyone volunteering to help out, and it's been working quite well.
Great. Well, thanks for that update. And if we'll stay on top of this, of course, and share any news with our travelers and our members and our listeners and all that. But if anybody has any questions and they want to sort of get the latest from us or from you, they can always reach us at hello@norway@explore-x.com. So, all right, one last quick question for me before we get to Robin's actual rapid fire questions. Marit, any final words of wisdom that you would like to share with our listeners, our audience, whether it's about Norway, about life, about travel. I'll leave it up to you with a blank canvas.
I don't know who's gonna go first. I can go first. It's I think my main kind of what really makes a difference for me is when I plan a trip and when I go somewhere that I make sure to have time to really enjoy it. And I hope that's something people kind of are taking out of the. And we also talked about this earlier this week, Michael, that people will hopefully like be able to appreciate travel more and really be in the moment and really make sure that they have enough time. And if you ever come to Norway, my big advice is just don't rush it. Make sure you have enough time to really enjoy it and kind of have some down days and just try to be a part of the culture and really enjoy nature and take it all in and not to rush from one place to another.
Yeah, very, very quickly, you know, as you mentioned, one thing that we've heard a lot from travelers and we've heard from research or read in research is that, you know, moving forward post-COVID, you know, one of the expectations is that travel is going to really slow down. And as you said, people are going to spend more time, you know, in one destination and give themselves a chance to really just settle and relax and sort of be present there instead of being like, okay, one night here, one night here, one night here, one night here, and then go home after 7 days. That we're going to see 2 week, 3 week, 1 month long trips, especially as people are able to, you know, work more remotely, you know, as they have been over the past, you know, 6 months or so. So, Taya, what about you? Any words of wisdom that you want to share with us?
I kind of agree what you guys are saying, and my best tip would probably also be to go to a place without service, because then you can kind of do the same like going from place to place, but you today do not have service is a gift. It's so nice and so calm, and to go to Norway you can go both down to more like the population places and up in the mountains and just kind of do non-service and service places, so we can kind of connect better to the nature and also don't think about Instagram it or Snapchat it or Facebook it. Just be there and take a picture probably and enjoy the nature.
Yeah, so true. You know, the idea of disconnecting from technology and all that certainly supports, you know, our ability to reconnect with ourselves, to reconnect with nature and all of that. So certainly appreciate that. Robin, do you want to hit some rapid fire questions?
Yes, I will do them rapidly. So Taya and Marit, we have a few rapid fire questions for you guys. So if you could both answer, that would be great. And these are just questions that we hope you'll just answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. So the first one is, if you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would you go? And maybe why?
Nepal. To go to the Himalayas and go hiking up there.
That is on my list too, for sure.
Yeah. I think maybe Italy for me. It's my favorite country in Europe, and it's north of Italy would be very nice with the mountains and the lakes, and yeah, I just love it there.
Dolomites, yeah.
Nice. How many times have you been, Marit?
Probably 7 or something.
Wow.
Yeah. I love it in Italy. It's very it's somehow kind of similar to Norway, but they have such good food and wine and I love the people there.
Yeah.
They're very chill.
Yeah, I just went to the Dolomites last year, and
Oh,
we
really?
did a hut-to-hut trek, and that was incredible.
Yeah. Awesome.
What is the craziest meal or maybe most memorable meal that you've eaten while traveling? Or maybe it can be a Norwegian meal too.
Good question. I would like to say smalahove, which is it's actually a sheep's head, Norwegian dish, but I've actually never tried it, which is a shame. But when I went to Australia, I ate this bug that our guide catched for me that tasted like honey. So I guess that would have to be my one.
Oh.
It was very good. Very strange, but good.
Wow.
Was it cooked or you just ate it?
No, it was alive.
Wow.
Right.
mine must be Smalahove, because that's typical Norwegian traditional course that is from the old times, but it's very honest because you get a whole head of like from the sheep, but it tastes wonderful if you don't imagine that it's actually a sheep head.
Just close your eyes and open your mouth.
Yeah, kind of that.
It's like the pig's head pie, Robin.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. What's one essential item you always bring with you when you travel?
In Norway is actually this ski. Like I never
Yes.
travel a place without this ski, and also sport tape, just to have around your ankles after you get a blizzard or something.
Yeah, for sure.
And pancake mix.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me it would be chocolate. I always need some chocolate in my backpack. It always helps. And if someone are feeling tired or if I need a little pick me up, it always helps with some chocolate.
I can totally relate. I can't go anywhere without chocolate. I have to have it every day. And last but not least, what is your personal favorite outdoor activity to do? Like especially now during COVID.
Right now I'm really into trail biking with my full suspension bike. I went out yesterday and actually now it's evening in Norway, so I'm going out now. My friend is probably waiting outside. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I think it's so cool. And I'm actually gonna do an instructor course trail biking in a few weeks as well. So that's kind of been my COVID drug.
That's awesome.
For me, it's just regular hiking. I love to hike and just to walk for hours. Like I love those long hikes where I can just go listen to podcasts, just look around, and probably have a campfire, just to sit there and look at the fire and just don't say anything. And after the September 15 is actually allowed to have a campfire out in the woods. More whatever you want, but also of course a secure place. But now it's allowed to have a campfire, and I will probably have one the September 15th.
Nice. As soon as you can.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Thanks, you guys.
Well, thanks, Robin. And Marit, Thea, thank you so much for being here. It's been a ton of fun. I literally think we could go for another hour, but we want to wrap it up here because respect people's time. But thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing information about Friluftsliv in Norway, and really for stoking our sense of wanderlust. And I know I can speak for our team and our listeners and our travelers that we can't wait to get to Norway and can't wait to travel in general as soon as possible. So we really appreciate you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Before we go, like 30 seconds, next week's Wisdom of Wanderlust, we have our really good friend Luca from Greenland. So we'll be chatting with her at 9 a.m. Pacific time next Wednesday. If you do have any questions for Marit and Thea, you can email us at norway@explorer-x.com. General questions for our team, you can email us at either hello@or travel@explorer-x.com. Follow us on social media, go ExplorerX. Learn more about membership at explorerx.com/join. And that's it. Thank you very, very much, guys. Thanks to Amanda and Robin, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.